Thank you very much. Please may we take the national anthem.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Funab anthem. Thank you very much. Please may we have our seats. Thank you very much once again. We are welcome to the 105th Inaugural Lecture of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. Most especially, we also welcome you to today's event, which is special in its own way. And our inaugural lecturer is ready for us. And today's inaugural lecturer's title is Financing the Cooperative Repayment Culture for Sustainable Agricultural Development. Before we proceed, permit me to recognize the presence of our Vice Chancellor, who is seated in our midst. Please let's welcome the Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Professor Olushola Babatunde Kehinde. FGSN, FIHS, and FASN. You're welcome, sir. Also seated next to him is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Professor Olukayode Akiyemi. You're welcome, sir. And to his left-hand side is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Development, Professor Olawale Dairo. We also have on seat the University Registrar, Dr. Titus Adeniyi. You're welcome, sir. The boss is seated, Mr. Olukayode Oshinoga. You're welcome, sir. And the University Librarian, Professor Abayomi Owulabi. We want to specially recognize the family of the inaugural lecturer, led by her amiable husband, a former staff of FUNAB, retired but not tired. Please let's welcome Dr. Julius ADEGBITE. And to every one of us seated, we want to say thank you very much for being here. Next is the person for whom we are here gathered today, our inaugural lecturer from the Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation / ICT program of the Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center of the University, a professor of agricultural finance and policy issues. Please let's welcome Professor DORCAS ADETOKUNBO ADEGBITE. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We still have much time to clap at the end of the day. Next, I want to humbly invite our Vice Chancellor, Professor Olushola Babatunde Kehinde, for the opening remarks. Please let's clap for the Vice Chancellor as he steps out.
The Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Development, the University Registrar, the Bossa, the University Librarian, the inaugural lecturer of today, Professor DORCAS ADETOKUNBO ADEGBITE, the Dean, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, Deans of other colleges, the Postgraduate School and Students Affairs, the Director, Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center, Directors of other institutes, centers, and service units, Head, Department of Agricultural Economics and Farm Management, Heads of other departments and units, distinguished members of the University Senate, distinguished academics and professional colleagues in FUNAB and other universities, members of the non-teaching staff, members of the Adedokun and Adegbite families, all special guests, friends and well-wishers, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and great Funabites. May I invite the inaugural lecturer of today, Professor DORCAS ADEGBITE, to please stand beside me here and remain standing. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 105th edition in the series of inaugural lectures of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. The first from the Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation program of the Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center. The third in the entire center. The sixth in the Department of Agricultural Economics and Farm Management. And the 12th in the College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development. The inaugural lecturer of today, Professor DORCAS ADETOKUNBO ADEGBITE, was born on November 8, 1958, as the second child to the family of Deacon Gabriel Ogunwusi Adedokun of Modakeke and Mrs. Elizabeth Oyeladun Adedokun of Odeomu in Irewole local government area, Osun State, both of blessed memory. Professor DORCAS ADETOKUNBO ADEGBITE is a seasoned agricultural economist who had a primary school education at Ijero Baptist School, Lagos, from 1964 to 1970, and her secondary education from 1971 to 1975 at Baptist High School, Iwo, Oyo State, now in Osun State, where she passed the West African School Certificate examination in grade 2. She attended Ahmadiyya College, now known as Anwaru Islam College, Agege in Lagos, for a higher school certificate between 1975 and 1976, after which she was absorbed as an agricultural assistant in training into the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives. She was eventually admitted into a newly established School of Agriculture, Ikorodu in Lagos, which was later affiliated to the Lagos State Polytechnic, Isolo, where she obtained the Ordinary National Diploma with distinction. The inaugural lecturer of today obtained the Bachelor of Science degree, second class upper division in 1984, the MSc degree in Agricultural Economics in 1989, and a PhD in Agricultural Economics in the year 2002, all from the University of Ibadan, Oyo State. Professor Mrs. ADEGBITE also obtained a professional diploma degree in cooperative studies from the Ogun State Cooperative College, affiliated to the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye in Ogun State, and a professional diploma in education at the Federal College of Education, Abeokuta, in 2014 and in 2019, respectively, where she graduated with distinction in both institutions of learning. She completed a mandatory National Youth Service Corps program in June 1985 in Lagos State. Mrs. ADEGBITE commenced her academic career as an extension fellow too at the Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center, AMREC, and was anchored in the Department of Agricultural Economics and Farm Management in the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, now the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, in 1995, where she rose through the ranks to become a professor of agricultural finance and policy issues in October 2015. Her services to the university system. Professor ADEGBITE has served on various university committees and in other areas of endeavors in the nation, which includes, but not limited to, program leader, planning, monitoring, and evaluation at the Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center between 2000 and 2020. This made her the longest serving program leader in the center till date. Also, Professor ADEGBITE became the director, Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center between year 2018 and 2021. She was the acting head of Department Communication and General Studies between 2009 and 2012. She was a deputy dean, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development between year 2022 and 2024. Mrs. ADEGBITE was the vice president, National Association of Teachers and Researchers of English as a Second Language. And also, she is the chairperson, editorial committee of Redeemed Christian Church of God, Ogun Province 1, Good Women's Convention 2010. Professor Mrs. DORCAS ADEGBITE has successfully contributed to human development through the training at undergraduate and postgraduate levels, several of whom are currently academic and non-teaching staff in this university and other universities, as well as in other fields of endeavors in and outside Nigeria. Apart from teaching a number of courses in the Department of Agricultural Economics and Farm Management, she has supervised over 119 undergraduate projects. And she has also been involved in major and collaborative supervision of 43 Masters of Science students and 6 doctoral graduates from within and outside the Department of Economics and Farm Management. Professor ADEGBITE has over 60 scholarly publications in reputable national and international journals, 7 conference-referred proceedings, and 18 technical papers and monographs. The inaugural lecturer of today is an active member of professional bodies such as the National Association of Agricultural Economists, Farm Management Association of Nigeria, Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, Rural Sociological Association, and Nigeria Institute of Management. The family life of our inaugural lecturer, Professor DORCAS ADEGBITE, is happily married to Dr. Julius Olagunju Ojo ADEGBITE, and they are blessed with children and grandchildren. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to invite Professor DORCAS ADETOKUNBO ADEGBITE of the Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center and the Department of Agricultural Economics and Farm Management to present her inaugural lecture titled Financing Cooperatives, Repayment Culture for Sustainable Agricultural Development. God bless you as you listen. Over to you now.
The Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Development, the Registrar, the Bursar, the University Librarian, Dean, College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development, Deans of other colleges, Student Affairs and Postgraduate School, Director, Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center, Directors of other institutes, centers and units, Program Leader, Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Program, distinguished members of the Senate, distinguished academics and professional colleagues in FUNAB and from other universities, members of non-teaching staff, members of my immediate and extended family, all other special guests, friends and well-wishers of the university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, great Funabite. I give all the glory to the Almighty God, who has made it possible for me to stand before you and to acknowledge that I know nothing, but he who knows what I do not know has made it possible to be who I am today and has given me the opportunity to present the 105th lecture in the series of the lectures of this great university, the Federal University of Agriculture. An inaugural lecture is an academic obligation during which one is appointed as a professor to pleasurably display and mark the privilege to showcase his or her achievements, contribution to knowledge, and solutions to problems and to humanity. I therefore consider this as a privilege to celebrate the peak of my career in this formal set that joins the town with the gown. Sir, I am grateful to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olushola Babatunde Kehinde, for giving me this privilege to present this lecture. In Nigeria today, there are roles played by agriculture in the economy, especially in employing significant proportion of our population by contributing to the fuel security and export earnings. Despite the oil boom in the 70s, the sector still remains the major employer of the labor force. However, agricultural cooperative system lays on platforms upon which populace can pool resources together, access credits, and encourage themselves in collecting, marketing, and bargaining that could enhance financial viability within the agri sector and in the nation at large. Therefore, understanding what we call repayment capacity in Nigerian agriculture and cooperative system and dynamics as well are considered as essential for cultivating this financial viability. In the course of getting through the appropriate title for this presentation, I reflected through my career progression and the fact that I have become, by the grace of God, a professor in agricultural finance and policy issues. And so I laid emphasis on repayment capacities of farmers using the strategy of cooperative group dynamics as well as agricultural financing in the area where I was focused. The concept was considered very important as agricultural economics that has been saddled with the responsibility of contacting farmers, relating with farmers through the Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center, AMREC, in order to fulfill the mandate of our dear university, Federal University of Agriculture. And with this in mind, the title of today's lecture has been Financing the Cooperatives, Repayment Culture for Sustainable Development. Agri-financing and cooperative strategy in particular play an important role in repayment capacities of farmers and cooperatives as well. And so they will be able to share resources, access financial services collectively, and be able to pool their resources together in order to be productive and achieve substantive results in their production. Synergy between these two, therefore, will help to enhance repayment capacity of farmers. ADEGBITE and Akintola 2004. Many farmers worldwide, especially these smallholder farmers in the rural areas, have encountered numerous challenges and obstacles. And the challenges are on where, when, and how to access financial resources for their agricultural enterprises. They struggle to have the necessary capital, and so they face the problem of inadequate financial literacy, as well as some of the challenges. And that called for the need to probe into what repayment capacities of financial institution loan beneficiaries look like in the Nigerian context and within the agricultural sector. ADEGBITE et al. 2014. Vice Chancellor, sir, I need to explain some points that are important concepts related to this lecture. The first is on the elements and the strategies of agricultural financing. Agri-financing itself, in a simple way, refers to the various instruments, mechanisms, or services that you can use to accomplish agricultural activities. ADEGBITE 2004. The financing aspect has to do with the provision of resources to farmers or agri-related enterprises in order to improve their productivity, manage their risk, and promote sustainable practices in their work. However, over the years, the financing and the specialized financial products had become a game changer. The elements of agricultural financing is another concept that we should know. And that includes the traditional banking and credit option, microfinance and rural lending institutions, government programs and subsidies, as well as impact investment and alternative financing model, such as the revolving loan scheme. I want to discuss briefly on financial strategy, which involves deliberate decisions about investment, capital structure, resource allocation and relocation, risk management, to mention but a few. And so, in the financing strategy, the aspect that I want to discuss today is on equity financing and debt financing. There are different strategies, of course. Equity financing refers to a process where farmers or cooperative group will raise capital or funds for their farm operations. And if it were to be cooperative group, they will raise those funds through share purchasing at some specific prices in order to get the share of the membership, of share of the cooperative. The equity financing contributes to cooperative itself by providing what we call initial takeoff capital, operating funds, acquisition of working capital, as well as development of infrastructures, and to generate some profits for the cooperative. However, some of the significance of this equity financing is that it helps in ownership of the society, it contributes to the capital and capital retention and accumulation as well. It allows for grants and loans as well as in financial inclusion in what pertains to agriculture. ADEGBITE 2025 shows these elements of agri-financing. The second strategy of financing is in-depth financing, which is an important component of financing farmers that refers to raising some loans from outside sources, from outside the farm operation. And such loans could be raised from financial institutions or from the lenders. However, some of the mechanisms include the bank loans, working capital loans, government program, interest rates, to mention but a few. However, some significant challenges in agri-financing include the risk perception by most financial institutions, inadequate literacy in financial management, problem of cash flow, gender disparity and gender equality, and some of the unpredictable weather and market conditions. However, tackling these headlong will help the stakeholders to create some enabling environment that will help agricultural cooperatives as well as the agricultural sector. ADEGBITE 2005C shows some of the challenges of agricultural financing. However, to overcome this, the development can be tailored to financial product, expansion of microfinance, use of agricultural strategies and collective resources, to mention but a few. ADEGBITE 2025C. Another major concept that I want to introduce that is related to this lecture is the word cooperative. The word cooperative. A typical cooperative is an autonomous association of persons that are voluntarily united in order to solve their social, economic, cultural problems and aspirations through jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise, as expunged by the International Cooperative Alliance, ICA, 1995. The cooperative, however, operates on a number of principles that will guide its operation and functioning, and will enhance their bargaining power in order to evade the problem of middlemen. And these principles are based on voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, and autonomy and independence, education, training and information, cooperation among cooperatives, as well as concern for the economy. There are 7 principles. The repayment capacities of farmers, that is the matter arising today, its significance and the strategies for improvement. The capacity has to do with the ability of individual or a lender, especially farmers and cooperatives, to generate sufficient income to meet their financial and debt obligations on time, as spelled out by the loan terms and agreement. However, several factors affect these repayment capacities, and that including effective governance, unpredictable weather patterns, as well as income, cash, to manage the cash flow by the farmers, and as well as the problem of meeting their financial obligations. Those ones affect the financial payment capacities. However, some strategies can be implemented in order to improve in these repayment capacities by farmers, in order to ensure sustainable agricultural development. The first is on access to sustainable financing and financial services. We have efficient risk management and insurance solutions, market linkages, loan collateralization, financial monitoring and support, to mention but a few. Contributions to knowledge. The Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me at this point to make a list of my contributions to knowledge. My contributions to knowledge include the development of a model called Repayment Performance Index, RPI, on loan beneficiaries. The second is on analysis of repayment performance of beneficiaries under the defunct Nigerian Agricultural Cooperative Smallholder Loan Scheme through a spell 1978 through 1999 in Ogun State. The third is on the assessment of the performance of Agricultural Credit Scheme, ACGS, Ogun State, Nigeria. The fourth is on the determinants of loan repayment capacities of beneficiaries under the ACGS HSLS, which is Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme, Smallholder Loan Scheme, 1978 to 2002 in Ogun State. Performance assessment of the Ogun State Agricultural and Multipurpose Credit Agency, that you all know as OSAMCA, from inception 2004 to 2006. Loan supply as well and recovery among smallholder farmers, case study of government guarantee agricultural loan scheme in Osun State, Nigeria. Institution-based loan scheme as we have in AMREC, FUNAB, Farmers Loan Scheme. Then I will speak briefly on a few number of diagnostic survey I was able to conduct. The first one is on the development of the Repayment Performance Index that I called RPI. The need to know about some factors or challenges facing Nigerian farmers on loan repayment gingered me into finding out the modeling of the index. And that is one of my contributions to knowledge as an academic, to develop that model on the repayment. ADEGBITE 2002. The model is considered very simple because it can be calculated either in the index form or in percentage form. It is also useful for agricultural finance studies and for scholars as well, and in the related field. It is useful for monitoring loans and for finance desk in most of the institutions. It reduces massive defaults and loan delinquencies. As presented in equation 1, sir, and mass, the RPI is the repayment capacity, the principal, the interest is there, and the amount repaid, which is called loan volume, outstanding balance. The second contribution to knowledge by me is on analysis of the performance of beneficiaries under the Nigerian Agricultural Cooperative Bank Smallholder Scheme. As I said, for a number of spells until the bank existed. ADEGBITE 2005 was committed to examining the pattern of loan under the administration of this scheme with a view to determining the volume of loan disbursed and the volume that were repaid, as well as to ensure that there are no biases in the conduct of the loan. 4,877 beneficiaries were examined during that spell, which served as the sample frame, and out of which 1,926 beneficiaries repaid back fully, while 688 paid back in part. ADEGBITE 2005A. The principal payment alone is 0.68 to 1, the ratio, while the ratio of the payment of principal to and interest is 0.55 to 1. This implies that paying the volume of loan, only 68% of that was paid out of the whole lot that we are guaranteed, and only 55% were paid when we consider the payment of the volume of loan and the interest as well. The table shows the loan repayment performance and shows that the average loan volume over that spell was 375, while the lump sum that were paid were 26,481,500 582. The study also used the binary choice probability model, which by its concept and its principle, it is expected to have a dichotomous responses on the behavior of the beneficiaries, whether they have paid back or they have not paid. 0 was assumed for non-repayment, while figure 1 was used for repayment. Equation 2 spells that. The finding, however, gave an informed knowledge to stakeholders and policymakers over the governance and administration on the loan through the transformation stages of the bank from NACB to the present time when it is called the Bank of Agric. The NACB transformed from that name to what we call the Nigerian Agriculture and Rural Development Bank, NACRIB, in the late 1999/2000, because of the consolidation at that time, consolidating the People's Bank of Nigeria with the government program then called the Family Economic Advancement Program to become NACRIB, and eventually it became Bank of Agric. However, through the transformation stage, the bank suffered its inability to meet its financial obligation to the beneficiaries, and most of the beneficiaries also defaulted. It served as the study served as an indicator to walk through the weaknesses of the previous bank administration from time to time until this new millennium. It also encouraged scholars after my study to find out the reasons for such weaknesses and how to recover the loan and improve on the administration. This table shows the determinants using the binary choice probability model. This time around, the logit model, which is significant. Some are significant at 1% and some at 10%. The third stride by me was on the assessment of the performance of Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme, which we call ACCGS. And so because of the need to keep our Greek sector growing, and so to get something formulated and implemented for the purpose of the growth of our Greek sector, the ACCGS, Agric Credit Agricultural Scheme, Smallholder Scheme, was established in 1977 under the Decree 20 of that year, having the Central Bank of Nigeria in each state as the major coordinator, and some of the facilitating banks are the commercial banks. Specifically, ADEGBITE 2005B examined the administration, the institutional outreaches, loan delivery, repayment rates on loan guarantee from time to time, with a view to determining the potential sustainability of that scheme over that period. However, a total of 7,502 applications were submitted, only 5,973 were guaranteed. However, the range of application was between 23 to 1,048 respectively, between 1982 and 1987. The average loan disbursed per year over that period was 300. And the repayment performance over the period as well was 60.8%. And the delivery ratio was as low as 20.4% from the bank. The table shows the composition of the loans granted from 1978 to 2002 and the amount so disbursed. The third stride was on the performance of the government guarantee loan scheme in Osun State, as coordinated by what we call OSADEP, Osun State Agricultural Development Program. And so, apart from the performance of ACCGS that used the lead equation with an R square of 63.5, the loan volume was found to be significant, as well as the farm location at alpha level, 0.1%, The farming experience increases with the efficiency of the farmers, hence the productivity of the farmer. However, this farming experience ran contrary to the a priori expectation, because it is expected that as the experience of the farmer increases, they will have tendencies to increase their output, be able to pay back their loans. But the negative sign shows that it is against the a priori experience. But the farm location as well as the loan volume was found to be according to the a priori expectation. This table shows the loan delivery and performance, as well as the recovery of agri guarantee scheme, as well as the assessment of the credit guarantee scheme. We have here specifically, we have the table shows the probit estimate of that, the regression analysis on the determinants of the loan volume. The next stride made by me, sir, is on the assessment of the Ogun State Agricultural Multipurpose Credit Agency, or SAMCA, between 2004 to 2006. ADEGBITE et al. 2009 examined the criteria and strategies used by the agency for its beneficiary and to manage the loans over time. And the first step was on the revitalization of credit agencies or credit sources, and that informed the establishment of the Ogun State Agricultural Credit and Multipurpose Agency. And that the agency did well from the study because of the low rate of interest charged as compared to the one charged by the commercial banks. Apart from that, the agency used the strategy of being less rigid, and also the strategy of establishing some zonal offices that were found nearer to the farmer's location. And this nearness to the farmer's location had informed their regular visit, monitoring visit, as well as the farmer's regular visit to the agency's office or to the headquarters to pay their loans. Then apart from that, the agency did not bring out loans until the applicants have been ascertained from the zonal offices. And the approval of loans were usually done by the loans committee at the headquarters. The 3-year period over which the conduct was done revealed that 73,228,038 naira were disbursed for the 3 years in 58 local government areas within the state for 68 enterprises consecutively, where 1,216 beneficiaries benefited in the 8 enterprises guaranteed. The overall positive impact and growth productivity of this agency supports the services and access to the enterprises. Table shows this on amount spent over each of the enterprises: crop, poultry, piggery, fisheries, to mention a few. However, I am glad today to say that there are 3 common repayment methods. There may be more. Fixed payment method, the fixed principal payment method, and the balloon method. The one adopted by OSAMCA was the fixed payment method, which required the payment of some fixed amounts, principal for interest at 12% then, when I conducted the survey, depending on the enterprises insured. The study revealed that the model of recovery by OSAMCA should be adopted by other schemes, because it has reduced the burden of loan recovery. It has also reduced the tendency of default from the beneficiaries. The strategy of establishing zonal offices also lessen the propensity of default, because the offices are closer to the contacts and intensify and ensure repayments. Therefore, the model for OSAMCA, which is the fixed payment method model should be adopted, rather than the one elicited by Linja and Barry, which is the fixed principal payment method, which lays on burden on the beneficiaries. Another stride, sirs, made by me, thank you, was on loan supply and recovery among smallholder farmers, the case study of Government Guarantee Agricultural Loan Scheme that we call GGALS in Osun State, Nigeria. ADEGBITE et al. 2015 assessed the loan recovery performance of 168 from the 200 respondents targeted, making 93.3% rate. The GGALS is a government guarantee scheme that gives disbursed loans biannually in cycles of 2 years. So it was studied from 2009 to 2014 in 3 cycles using multi-stage systematic sampling technique. It shows as I said, 93.3% response rate, but the eligibility to get the loan from this source has to do with the fact that the prospective beneficiary must be a bona fide farmer practicing agriculture within Osun State. Another condition is that he or she must be physically fit to adopt any farm enterprise of his or her choice, but must be prepared to adopt new innovation as directed, and must be prepared to submit the names of 2 public servant guarantors for the intended loans. The Recovery Performance Index is as spelled out in Table 7. The study revealed that there were no significant differences between the amount of loan requested for and the amount of loan supplied by the program. However, it was disheartening to discover that 18-week disbursement lag happened then, which was considered too long for any productive venture and for recovering the loan. And so it should be shortened, not to be long, so that they will use the loan for the intended purposes. This table 14 shows the recovery performance of this scheme on yearly basis and on enterprise basis. The next one, sir, is the institution-based credit scheme, as we have the case in AMREC FUNAB Farmers Loan Scheme that we tag AFFLS. My contributions, sir, were in the areas of developing a number of loan administration instruments. 5 of them I will mention. The loan application form, which is called AFFLS number 1. The form on confirmation of the existence of guarantors, either by the employer, the corporation, the institutions concerned, form number 2. The irrevocable order to effect deduction from the guarantors, from their gratuities or from their benefits or from their salaries, and pay such to the borrower, the lender rather, form number 3. Another one is on credit schedule on loan disbursement and repayment, loan 4, as well as the loan agreement form, either for individuals or from group beneficiaries, loan 5. Sir, the diagnostic survey, I will mention just 2 of them. The one we have done was from 2006 to 2009, before the outcome of the COVID. It was tagged Commodity Price Survey. Commodity price survey were analyzed over time in rural and urban markets. The essence, this table shows the commodity price survey in the rural market and the commodity price survey in the urban market. My contribution was to keep farmers and other stakeholders in the agric sector abreast of what is going on, and to give them intelligent economic information that will help their work and safeguard their products and produce. As well, this regular and continual collection of this data will help those who want to get into agri-venture to take enough decision, and for farmers to know the appropriate selling price for their produce. This is all from Urban Market. Vice Chancellor, sir, the socioeconomic survey, which is the second survey that I will mention here, it was on the university neighborhood community. I want to remind us that at the onset of the establishment of HAMREC in 1991, what I call the first generation extension villages were just 3. They were Ijemo Fadipe, Ileworire, and Ijale Papa. But the need to ensure that those who are around the university community benefit from the university spurred me to find out some of the socio-economic profile of this community. And so it serves as the baseline data for these newly adopted villages around the university. It also helps to analyze the data on the patterns, the trends, as well as the relationships among these villages, their culture and whatever, so that the extensions arm of the university, AMREC, the staff there will have some caution when they go into the university communities. There are certain places where we should not step. There are certain cultures that we should not run and so on. It will help us, and the data as well spelled out the needs of this community. And those needs were reported back to the university management, which were jointly solved by the university management and some stakeholders who implemented programs towards the need for solution. That is my contribution. And that encouraged the well-being of the farmers as well as improve their farming activities. Contributions to human development. Sir, as an academic staff, I have the responsibility to fulfill the tripodal mandate of the university for teaching, research, and extension. For teaching, I was employed as an extension fellow too in 1995 in the then University of Agriculture that we call UNAB, before it was transformed to the Federal University of Agriculture, and was anchored into the Department of Agricultural Economics and Farm Management to complement efforts in some courses. I was therefore able to contribute to principles of agricultural economics, introduction to agricultural economics, agricultural marketing, agricultural finance, agricultural cooperatives, as well as agricultural cooperative management for postgraduate students. Apart from that, I was able to teach agricultural cooperative on here on Fulham Radio for a number of spells, just to teach our farmers and also, thank you, just to teach our farmers and also to complement what I teach in class for my students. Another effort made by me was to set the foundation of the students I teach in complement with other courses as well, and to increase and improve their intellectual capacity in their areas of endeavors. The second contribution to knowledge was on supervision of student projects, dissertation, and thesis. So over the years, I was able to supervise over 119 undergraduate student projects, over 43 master's degree dissertation, and 6 PhD student theses. Still counting, sir. And within that department alone, I also co-opted with some of my colleagues outside the department and the College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development to support the supervisory work. That is another contribution by me to human development. Yet another contribution, though I'm happy to relate with this one, the students I have interacted with who have been working in this society, in this university. Some of them are even professors. Some of them are working here with me. Some outside university institution, in other tertiary institution, some in other endeavors, and some in overseas country. Some examples are here. My biological son was my student, Temitope ADEGBITE. These efforts have not only fostered the development of the students' intellectual capacities, it has also increased the number of human resources that a typical nation will require for its development. I'm happy and proud to identify with all of them. My contribution to knowledge increased by my extension services delivery and organization of training and workshop. In discussing this, the extension services, I have to say boldly, is one of the tripodal mandates of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. Sir, running through that my career development process as an extension fellow, my contribution in extension services were achieved in few areas. We can largely be summarized as this: the establishment of the planning, monitoring, and evaluation program in the year 2000. I was able to assist in establishing that program on behalf of the center and indeed on behalf of the university. The unit is a multiple component unit that has the responsibility of tracking the programs along with the proposed programs. It also justifies the existence of our extension villages as well as the operating programs of the university, and gave objective monitoring and evaluation for the university decision making. Yet, on my contribution to human capital development, I served as the program leader of PME unit of that center, HAMREC, from the year 2000 to the year 2020, 21 years. Thank you. In addition, in collaboration with my colleagues at the center, we jointly pulled together what we call the reports of our extension activities. And I was able to compile the comprehensive annual report and work plan. This one was useful to keep track with what we are doing and to help the university in the decision making over the extension stride. The monitoring and evaluation of extension and outreach programs were conducted by my program, and this has helped to improve the entire center over the years. As part of my contribution as well, the pre and post training assessment that we do is to ensure improvement of similar trainings that we may want to conduct in future. Then, and the implementation will continually advise this university management whether we are making progress as we are expected or not, and give them information for decision making. The evaluation ensures that the context, the concept, the process, as well as the relevance of whatever training I was evaluating or monitoring are relevant to the target beneficiaries, who are farmers and farmers group. The evaluation, notably among the extension service-oriented workshop that I was able to organize, was on report writing and documentation for extension and technical staff in extension delivery services. Because of the need to have effective report and to have a generic report for our annual report, I was able to organize that. And apart from organizing this, a training manual was developed by me to make use as future references. And we were able, at the end of the training, justify the need to create a standard format for AMREC reports and other technical reports. The second workshop was on the needs and process of monitoring and evaluation of agricultural and rural development projects. It was a milestone in the history of the Federal University of Agric to have conducted that, and it gave an effective extension delivery for agricultural transformation agenda. My contribution was that the participants were exposed to this process of monitoring and evaluation, as well as getting them to know that it is an important part of management information system. I also monitored, evaluated, and conducted impact assessment of externally funded projects on behalf of the University, Federal University of Agric, through the Agricultural Media Resources and Extension Center. So, some of them is the UNAB Nestle funded soya bean popularization project in southwest Nigeria. We also have the UNAB Nestle funded Farm Family project in southwest Nigeria and the Cassava Carding Value project for Nigeria. The first one, the UNAB project, had a major objective of stimulating the interest of the farmers and improving their socio-economic welfare. As part of the implementation team, which is one of my contributions, some of the strategies that we use on the sensitization tour we conducted to Ogun, Osun, Oyo, and Ekiti State, in collaboration with the respective ADP, the sourcing and planting of the materials that we source from IART, IITA, as well as Oyo State ADP Liaison Office. The timely planting of the seeds, because the planting of soybean is time sensitive. The planting and monitoring, because the farmers did not plant on time, and that generated the idea that planting soybean or processing soybean affects health, resulted in some cases on health hazard, and that made me to also recommend that fabrication of treasures should be made, which was made through the university by the project and was distributed to the respective implementations, ADP states. The monitoring ensure timely planting and advisory services. Here in figure 5, DORCAS ADEGBITE with some members of AMREC at Oyo State ADP. The laborers on soybean while harvesting. The fabricated treasure is there that was distributed to the respective ADPs. As well, the monitoring showed that the knowledge and the skill gap of the farmers in farm operation towards soybean was so wide. And that generated my reporting that there should be a pre-season training organized. And so a multi-station pre-season training were organized to close the gap. A few number of problems that were discovered were jointly solved by the respective ADP, and that made the Federal University of Agri to justify its existence and its mandate on extension-related purpose to collaborate with agri-related agencies and institutions, because we worked together. The monitoring efforts presented the opportunities to see projects timely and to avoid wastage, because the farmers did not plant at the same time, and so the crop became matured at different times. And so I was able to monitor and advise that they should harvest at those different times in order to avoid wastage. The impact assessment on a number of timely harvesting, and it's also generated, the planting of soybean also generated rural employment, especially for youth, on post-harvesting, on processing, and whatnot. Farmer statuses were also developed as well. They look forward to the buyback by Nestle PLC, which was the financier of the project. The report submitted by me on behalf of AMREC, under the leadership of the then director of AMREC, served as a comprehensive reporting for the financier and to support the financier to do the more. The treasures were there. Most importantly, part of the project strategy was to develop demonstration farms where the farmers and the beneficiaries of the project can have improved knowledge, and their innovations can lead to better productivity and standard of living. Vice Chancellor, sir, here we have the harvesting of the soybean at Shaki West local government as an example. The impact assessment conducted by me were done in 4 out of the 6 states where the project was implemented, in 12 local governments, in 12 out of 22 communities that were involved. And it revealed a 71.9% performance by the implementers, using a number of scores: project efficiency, project effectiveness, logistics support, the project, how best it has related to the beneficiaries' needs. And it was evident in the 87% adoption rate that was felt after the popularization and organization of field days. Impact assessment made the crop soybean to become acceptable integrated into the farming system of the farmers in the southwest area, and the massive production also improved the income of the farmers. Contribution to family health projects. Vice Chancellor, sir, let me reiterate that at each junction that the community-based program and activities that requires attitudinal change or behavioral changes on well-defined issues like health play very important roles in the lives of people of different ages and occupation. And so I want to establish today that optimal health of people can be considered as important for increased productivity and poverty reduction. So the project was committed and implemented to create awareness of the beneficiaries to change their behaviors and attitude positively, and through the provision of relevant information. As part of that, it was committed to find out the illnesses in those communities and as well to enhance livelihood security. My contribution was on the conduct of assessment of impact on the people, on the community, and how best they are using the health facilities that were in their communities. And that gave a real batch and real-time database that can be referred to. It also helped the community members through the coordinators of the project to change positively in their behavior and in their healthy lifestyles. And the prevalent diseases that were there were reduced. The evaluation shows a 63% reduction in malaria attack, 32.9% decrease in the incidence of health problems, 68.7% reduction in the incidence of convulsion over the children under 5, and a 71.1% in the attitude to attend to hospitals and health facilities. My contribution was on the report to the sponsors and to the university management, as evident in the health status among families, generation of income through entrepreneurship development, peer-to-peer group counseling as conducted by the coordinators. The cover was sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, coordinated by the Natural Resource Institute, in which the center was involved as a provider. My contribution was that I was the coordinator for AMREC. Then, before I was transferred to the Cover Nigeria team, then. The three major activities over which the attention was paid was on participatory rural appraisal, participatory need assessment, establishment of demonstration farm, to say the few. Apart from being a team member, I also attended Abuja to join in the making recommendation for inclusion of HQCF flour. I was able to serve on behalf of the university as one of the Cover M&E team. Here we have figure 14, figure 15. Figure 15 shows the Congo women in action, and Professor Westby was on visit from UK. Professor Latif Sonny was the country manager. Professor Caroline Afolami was the director, and I as the representative of Cover Nigeria. Some few contributions I've made was to collaborate with the Center of Excellence in Agricultural Development and Sustainable Environment, CADES, on a 5-day training. I was also involved, as I said, in ADEGBITE classroom on air on AMREC weekly program on FUNAB Radio. We have DORCAS ADEGBITE and Professor Kayode Akinyemi, the now Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academy, staging the farmers and presenting certificates. Involvement in ADEGBITE to increase the student knowledge and to increase the farmers' knowledge. As well, DORCAS ADEGBITE in the radio room, collaborating Akilimo program with Mrs. Oyenekon and Olabode Taiwo. Also, in one of our schools, on our Greek in school programs, conducting Akai and Akilimo program with our other colleagues in AMREC. My conclusion. The financial problems of typical Nigerian farmers have been those of getting the right type of funds for expansion at the right time and in the right quantity at various stages of production. Bank loans have been considered as the traditional source of short-term loans for most agribusinesses in recent times, as they provide a large share of financing to small and medium-scale farmers. And so knowing about their repayment capacities is very important. My recommendations: in order to enhance the repayment capacities of farmers and to foster the development of the agri sector, it is important for government, stakeholders, agencies, and financial institutions to take concerted actions in the following important areas. 1. Increase farmers and cooperative access to adequate financial resources by developing innovative financial mechanisms and schemes. Ensure continual reappraisal and improvement on timeliness in disbursement of funds to borrowers and on loan administration for sustainable development and financial inclusion in the agricultural sector. The third one is on to constantly evolve and reappraise credit assessment of beneficiaries and establishing it on their creditworthiness rather than on schedule. Establish more institutions as Osamka did in order to reduce the distance between the farmers and the branch offices or the credit offices. And lastly, the scheme should be flexible enough to respond to financing, funds management, if savings could be included on eligibility for loan. Vice Chancellor, sir, I wish to acknowledge some people. The Vice Chancellor, I am full of gratitude to the Almighty God of heaven and earth, who has given me the grace and the privilege to be alive today and to present this inaugural lecture. I return all the glory to him. It is quite impossible for me to successfully go through the journey for 3 decades all alone. I may not be able to mention all that were involved, but I thank all who have contributed to success. I pray that God will continue to bless everyone whom I have interacted with. I wish to acknowledge my parents, my father, the late Deacon Gabriel Ogunwusi Adedokun, and my mother, the late Elizabeth Oyeladun Adedokun, for all their efforts, labor, love, and kindness in instilling the virtues and hard work, discipline and integrity, and the fear of God in my life as a child. I'm particularly grateful to them for believing in me over this education. I was privileged to have gone through their entire effort as a girl child. Vice Chancellor, sir, as I've said, my Vice Chancellor, Professor Olushola Babatunde Kehinde, I am particularly grateful to you. He is the current Vice Chancellor who, for the confidence he reposed in me by his approval of the presentation of this inaugural lecture. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your all the time encouragement, your listening ears to some of my personal hurdles. I pray that God will continue to give you the required wisdom to steer the ship of UNAP. You will land safely by the grace of the Almighty God. I want to acknowledge those who support the Vice Chancellor. I have the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Olukayode Akinyemi, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Development, Professor Engineer Uthman Dairo, the Registrar, Dr. Titus Adeniji, the Bossa, Mr. Olukayode Oshinuga, and the University Librarian, Professor Abayomi Owolabi. I want to thank you all, sirs, for what you have been to me, a support, a pillar of support. God bless you all. I am very grateful to all the past vice chancellor of this great university and those who have worked with them, starting with the pioneer, the late Professor Nimbe ADEGBITE, Professor Okoje, late Professor Israel Adu, the Professor Adamson and Eniko Meyin, who gave me even the environment to thrive with my career. I have Professor Olufemi Olaiyabalogun, under whose administration I learned a life lesson that there is nothing I can focus on, I cannot do, as long as I'm focused, I'm dedicated, and I have the fear and the support of God in me. That I grab as one of my life lessons. I have Professor Olushola Babatunde Oyewole as well, Professor Felix Kolawole Salako, all have helped me. And I pray that God will bless them all. I am particularly grateful today. I am happy. I feel elated to see Professor T.O. Tayo, who was my tutor from 1980 and my deputy vice chancellor of this great university. Thank you, sir, for making me. I want also to acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Shoboyejo, Princess. Thank you, ma, for being there for me. She was the one who was part of my employment in this university. My mentors are so many here, but for time, I will not be able to mention them. Pardon me. I thank my supervisor, Professor Sadito, and late Dr. J.O. Akintola, my lecturers and colleagues. I thank you all at all levels of learning, my colleagues in the Department of Agric Economics, University of Ibadan. I acknowledge the past deans of the College of Agricultural Management and Rural Development and the present dean, Professor Emmanuel Oluwagbenga Fakoya, all my colleagues in the department. I am particularly grateful to the head, Professor Akintayo Sanusi, all professors in the house, starting from Professor Wale Dipelu and others. I'm grateful to all my colleagues, some of who were my students, and I'm happy they have progressed today. To HAMREC, I am grateful. I thank all the past and the current directors of HAMREC, that because of time, I may not be able to mention them. And I have spotted one of them, Professor A.M. Omotayo. Thank you, sir. I am sending words to Professor Caroline Hafolami. Thank you, ma. God bless all my colleagues and co-workers in the center. I'm grateful to them all. I cannot mention their names, but God knows you. I'm thanking my mentors, my senior colleagues, close associates as well. I appreciate you all for all your support, encouragement in the journey. To all my family members at Igbajo, Iloro, Osun State, I appreciate your support, prayers, encouragement that kept reminding me that my future is in God's hand and will continue to be bright. I thank all who are in diaspora. God bless you all as well. I appreciate every family at home and abroad. To all my in-laws, Chief and Chief Mrs. Babajide Oshodia, Chief and Chief Mrs. Alabi Kelani, Reverend and Reverend Mrs. Ibikunle Onosanya, for the love that binds us together. God bless you all. I appreciate all my spiritual fathers and pastors, all who I may not be able to mention their names, but I'm sure God knows you all. The current mega regional overseer, MRO, of the Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministry, Abeokuta, Pastor Emmanuel Kelani, thank you. Thank you, Pastor Reverend Dr. T.T. Olatubosun, Reverend Professor and Mrs. Oyemomi, Retired Reverend and Mrs. S.T. Adeleye, Retired Reverend Adeleke and wife, and all the deacons under the Baptist Convention. I'm grateful to all my Mrs. Kole Onimole. To all my children and grandchildren, I appreciate God for giving all of you to us. I have coincidentally in the house today, Miss Mofi Folua ADEGBITE to me and to my husband. Thank you all for making me proud as a fulfilled mother and grandmother. God will continue to guide your paths and support all your endeavors. Before I recognize this, I want to thank all the farmers who have supported me and every member of AMREC whenever we visit the communities. You have helped us to fulfill the university's mandate through AMREC. And now, the story of my life and career progression will not be complete without open acknowledgement of my husband, brother, friend, confidant, who stood by me for almost 50 years, through thick and thin. I thank you, Dr. Julius Olagunju Akoni ADEGBITE, for always being there for me and for supporting my vision in love. Thank you. I thank God for directing my steps to the ADEGBITE family, even as an orphan of almost 5 decades, and for using you to lead the team of the family members to care for me and my children. God bless you. Vice Chancellor, sir, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you all for being here to share the joy of the day with me, despite your tight schedule. God bless you all for listening. As I close, I ask for your kind indulgence to sing this with me, to thank the Almighty God who made this possible today in my life. Immortal, invisible, God only wise, enlightening, accessible, hid from eyes, most precious, most glorious, the ancient of days, almighty, victorious, thy great name we praise. Great Father of glory, pure Father of light, thy angels adore thee, unveiling their sight. All praise we will render, oh, help us to see solely thy splendor of light hideth.
Please, we may have a seat. We may have a seat. Still standing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know that almost 70% of everyone seated here will belong to one cooperative or the other. So, Congratulations, ma. Yes, ma. The Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, is glad to present this award of honor to Professor DORCAS ADETOKUNBO ADEGBITE as the 105th Inaugural Lecturer of the University, dated this day, Wednesday, 15th October 2025. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. Prof is highly. You don't do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Prof is highly elated today. We can understand. Ma, arising from our activities on campus, we also present this to you, ma. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. With that, we are rounding up our 105th Inaugural Lecture, and we want to appreciate Professor DORCAS ADEGBITE for presenting the lecture. But before we leave, we want to acknowledge especially some of the guests here. The inaugural lecturer has actually acknowledged many of us here, but to also let us know that we are all very important. But please, on behalf of the university, once again, I want to congratulate the family led by Dr. Julius ADEGBITE, someone who administered injection and medications on this campus to so many people here. Thank you very much, sir. And we thank the extended family and also members of the Baptist Church, churches who are represented here. For the academia, please, you'll permit me to do something. About 32 years ago, I came to the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, at ADEGBITE, for an interview. And I was found appointable. The then Vice Chancellor, the pioneer Vice Chancellor, Professor Nuruddin Oloronimbe Adedipe, asked them to convey the approval to me. And there was no other way to convey that approval than to say, Mr. O.B. Kehinde, Kia Professor T.O. Tayo, Dean College of Plant Science and Crop Production. Therefore, please join me to welcome my mentor, my teacher, the one who has been with me for a long time, my role model, Professor Timothy Oluwarotimi Tayo. Oga, you are welcome, sir. You are welcome. Thank you very much, sir, for being there. He brought me to this university. He brought me here. Also, I want to appreciate another mentor, Professor Steve Olaolu Afolami, my teacher, my mentor, the former Vice Chancellor of St. Augustine, of the Augustine University at Ekpe. And of course, I hope you all know that Professor T.O. Tayo was our Deputy Vice Chancellor in this university and was also a Vice Chancellor of Caleb University in Lagos. Oga, thank you so very much for your pioneering efforts and all that you have done. And also, I welcome Professor Caroline Afolami, also my teacher. Professor Afolami, you are welcome, ma. Someone who served this university with every passion and dedication. Thank you very much. We're happy to still see you being radiant like this. We pray everything is thorough. And also, we welcome the Pioneer Registrar, Omoba. The Pioneer Registrar herself, Omoba, Bisi Shoboyejo. So if your daughter is in Shoboyejo hostel, this is the Shoboyejo. Mommy, you are welcome, ma. You are welcome. Pioneer Registrar of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. You made this university to be where we are today. We appreciate you all. Thank you so very much. We also want to thank Chief Abiodun Adekombi. Chief, you are welcome, sir. The Bale Ashebi is Sela, Odeda local government, and his chiefs. Bale, you are welcome, sir. Eshegon. Of course, we have Pastor Kelani Emmanuel, Pastor Reverend Dr. Timothy Olatubosun of Ibara Baptist Church, and all other clergy. Thank you for joining us. The Chief Tajuddin Oguntusi, Baale Ayetoro Budo, these were all the people who gave Professor ADEGBITE all those data that she showed us. Thank you very much. Of course, Amrek family, we welcome you. And we welcome all other dignitaries here seated. The former acting registrar, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Daudu, you are somewhere there. We welcome you. And all FUNAB Senate members, we welcome you. Deans and directors, we welcome you. Thank you so very much for coming. The children, they traveled all the way from abroad to come and see Mommy perform. Mommy has performed this afternoon. Thank you for the support, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of the 105th Inaugural Lecture of our university. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you'll honor our invitation when next we call upon you. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
Please let's sustain the applause as the Vice Chancellor takes his seat. Thank you very much. Please let's have our seat. Financing the cooperatives, the repayment culture for sustainable agricultural development. Thank you very much, Ma, for that beautiful lecture. And thank you, every one of us seated in this hall. A quick announcement before we call it a day. The procession we file out in reverse order through the central aisle, and the non-teaching staff, after the program, we go through the exit B by my left-hand side. The invited guests of the inaugural lecturer will go through the center aisle. When they step down the staircase, they turn to the left. There's a hall, a mini hall by the left-hand side there, where they'll be given a good reception, while other colleagues of the inaugural lecturer will go through the exit A by my right-hand side. Okay, Mama said everyone is her guest, so just be rest assured that today you have more than enough. Just come through the exit B. She said everybody should come through the exit B and come to the hall and have a beautiful day after lecture day to have a good story. So to this end, we want to say thank you again and want to call it a day. So I want to implore every one of us to stand up as we take the anthem in reverse order, FUNAB anthem first. National Anthem.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign fatherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang unto our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Thank you very much. Please, we are to remain standing while the procession files out of the hall. Kindly be reminded that the inaugural lecturer has said that every one of us is our guest and we are welcome to the hall. So please, when you step out of this hall, you can find your way to the mini hall downstairs there and have a bit of what the inaugural lecturer has prepared for every one of you. Thank you very much for making our time to be here today. And we look forward to seeing you next when we are hosting the next series of the inaugural lecture of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. Please, students, you are to remain in the hall. Students, FUNAB students, you are to remain in the hall. FUNAB students, please remain in the hall.